I know a lot of you already hate this idea anyway, and you want to beat me up in a dark alleyway when it's raining at 12 o'clock in the morning, but I wish that you would just hear me out. I put on the special shirt just for this, because I know that all day we fight back and forth about Lightning versus USB-C versus portless, and the polls are kind of, overwhelmingly USB-C, but maybe this could be a healthy compromise where we could meet in the middle. Let's begin. Before any of y'all get too trigger happy on this, it's not a rumor, okay? It's not a leak. This is a suggestion video, okay? I've made suggestions to Apple in the past, and they've literally never acted on them, so I'm gonna keep doing them because I think USB-C is worth fighting for, alright? As Apple is now transitioning more of the iPad lineup over to USB-C, we've got Macs that are fully embracing USB-C now as the only charging method or the only input method, but simultaneously, I see everyone's responses to, well, there's just so many dang Lightning accessories out there, there's so many Lightning cables, and people want to keep using their Lightning accessories and whatnot, so what I'm merely suggesting, that I've seen a few of you guys reference as well, is that similar to the iPad lineup, supporting both Lightning on the low-end models and the USB-C port on the higher-end models, why don't we take that same approach with iPhones as kind of a happy middle ground, because as a lot of you Lightning defenders may claim, well, the average consumer doesn't want to have to buy all new cables, they want to just keep using their old, boring accessories, and they want that to work with their new iPhone. Yeah, the everyday average consumer, I feel like, is more likely to buy the mid-range iPhone. The aluminum ones with 2 cameras on the back, they don't need LiDAR, they don't need stainless steel. But of course, there are people who want the higher-end iPhones that are probably going to get 120 Hz this year, and I feel like the market of customers that are willing to spend $1,000 or more on their new iPhone, that might be the type of customer that also has a MacBook, or also has an iPad Air, or more expensive, an iPad Pro, something that's already using USB-C, okay? That's the main reason I think this whole transitioning to Type-C argument isn't so crazy. It's because it's not a port that Apple isn't already using. It's actually a port that Apple helped develop, and they directly are embracing on many other products within the ecosystem. And I don't think it's really that much of a tech community subject to suggest that we just want one cable to charge all of our stuff. If anything, that's the pitch for a regular consumer to make life easier, because I've still run into the situation where my wife and I are watching something on our iPad in bed, and there's a Lightning cable that she uses to charge her phone right next to us, and when the iPad battery gets low, she reached for the Lightning cable and tried to plug it into the iPad, and I was like, sorry honey, forsooth, that cable cannot charge the iPad, despite it looking like it can, and despite it being made by Apple. The charger's made by Apple, the iPad's made by Apple, her phone is made by Apple. This is all a first-party experience, and yet we have incompatibility on first-hand hardware. That's why I think switching the iPhone to USB-C is not so much a geeky, nerdy tech community thing. This is about making it easier for everybody, and I would be fine if Apple was embracing one port across everything, like if they were doing Lightning on all the iPads and they were adopting Lightning on the Macs and MacBooks, then I would say, okay, let's all get on board Team Lightning. But in the past few years, Apple has only been making the switch to USB-C across their iMacs, their MacBooks, their iPads, and the iPad mini is probably going to switch to Type-C by the end of this year. So if we're willing to adopt USB-C across all these different things, why not also bring it to the iPhone? It's not a thickness argument, because the iPad Pros have thinner chassis than the iPhones do, and they have Type-C. And it's not a durability argument, because there are tons of really durable and water-resistant Android phones out there that also rock USB-C, so I don't think that's the problem either. And to me, it's not even a great argument of Apple wanting to keep things within the ecosystem, because if that was the truth and they wanted to just make as much money as possible for made-for-iPhone accessories, and they wanted people to feel like they could only use Lightning cables within their ecosystem, then why would they be switching iPads to USB-C? They could just keep doing what they need to do over Lightning. Clearly, iPadOS doesn't want to take advantage of any Thunderbolt accessories, and there's not much of a point in having high bandwidth importing speeds to the iPad when they're not even going to give it Pro applications. So if the argument is to make Lightning the most popular port possible, then why are they getting rid of it across the iPad lineup? I'm starting to be convinced the iPad hardware team thinks a lot like I do, and the rest of Apple just simply doesn't. And I think there might be some growing pains in there for sure, and there might be some e-waste if Apple switches to USB-C. USB-C, but in the long run, I do ultimately think it would be worth it if we could take one charger and one cable on our trips and be able to charge essentially everything off of that. I would love a little MagSafe Duo that supports USB-C so that I could even charge my Apple Watch through that cable, and then when I need to charge a MacBook or an iPad, I can just unplug the MagSafe Duo. Or if people don't have Apple Watches, just having one cable to charge all of their Apple accessories just seems so much more simplistic and minimal and more in Apple's philosophy, but it's bizarre that they still don't want to make that turn. And if you want to support Lightning on some iPhones, that's fine, but just having an option out there on the Pro iPhones, because next year 120Hz might end up becoming a standard feature across the lineup, so the Pros having USB-C would give them another advantage or reason for people to spend more, and for the same reason they're adopting it on the iPad, this allows it to support more accessories, and this will definitely make it easier to charge and plug in directly to your MacBooks or your iPads even, because there are a lot of USB-C to USB-C cables out there, a lot of them made by Apple too. However, there's no Lightning to Lightning cables out there. Those don't exist, so it's not entirely reversible, and I just feel like people who are willing to spend thousands of dollars on their phones are probably the type of people to be more likely to spend more money on USB-C accessories. If they gotta replace some cables around the house or their dongle in their car, okay, they'll have to buy one, but they're already willing to shell out all this money on a Pro iPhone. That's probably not as much as a stretch as someone who's just going for the mid-range basic iPhones that cover the basics, that are surely gonna sell much, much better than the Pro models. So why is this such a crazy solution? I know people are gonna say that iPhones have never had different ports before, but iPads have been doing it for 3 years now, and there's a lot of features that the iPads have that have trickled down their way into the iPhone, like picture-in-picture or soon-to-be 120Hz, or the squared-off edge design. So I know that the iPad is technically different from the iPhone, I'm aware of that, but if Apple's willing to make USB-C a Pro feature, or at least a higher-end feature on one device, I don't see it as that crazy to do it the same way with the iPhone. Ultimately, I'm still just upset that the Lightning port is still so widely used and Apple keeps forcing us to use it on the MagSafe pack and on AirPods Max. I was hoping that after 10 years, Apple could kind of work on phasing it out, at least moving towards a portless future, and I was trying really hard to adopt to MagSafe and inductive charging across all my devices, but even then, Apple makes things like the MagSafe pack or AirPods Max that cannot be charged inductively, or the Magic Mouse, which got redesigned with the iMac, and by redesign I mean they added a couple color options, but they didn't change Lightning connectivity, they didn't change Lightning on the updated Magic keyboards with Touch ID. To me, that would have been the perfect time to switch those accessories over to Type-C, and yet they didn't. You could have had a USB-C to USB-C cable in the iMac box that could plug in either way, keyboard to Mac or Mac to keyboard. It would have been so much easier, but no, we gotta keep embracing Lightning. So I'm just ultimately worried Lightning is gonna stick around for like another decade because Apple's too scared of the risks of going portless and how much backlash they'll get if they go all in on MagSafe, and they're too worried about accessories not being supported if they switch to USB-C. So the answer is we just live with another reversible Apple standard for their cables for 10 years, and Apple does nothing. They just keep embracing Lightning on AirPods, the TV remote, and their Mac accessories, and their iPhones, of course, but we get USB-C on all the iPads. We still have USB-C only across iMacs and MacBooks, other than the occasional HDMI port or SD card slot thrown in there, but AirPods Max and MagSafe packs, they just keep rocking Lightning for many, many years to come, and we have to keep packing 2 cables with us wherever we go, or have to charge our Magic Mouse too in that stupid configuration. Basically, I'm in support of Apple doing anything to get USB-C on more of their products, so if that involves just getting the Pro iPhones on USB-C, that's a step in the right direction that I'm willing to take. And how do you guys feel on this subject? Do you think it's crazy to have 2 standards on one lineup? Because keep in mind, that's what Apple does with the iPad as well. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you guys in the next one.